Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? It is 8:36. Sorry, now I understand why. And I would like to call this meeting to order on Friday, April 25th. Have a motion? So moved. Okay, second?
Second.
This meeting is in order. Okay, call to order approval of agenda. So approval of consent agenda, minutes from 3/28/25 meeting. You have a motion?
Moved.
Okay, second?
Second.
Approved. All right, we're already at number 3 with members' comments. I do not see anyone in the room. Nobody online. Again, if you all are okay with that, I'd like to circle back around at the end of public session in case somebody has some comments. Is that okay with everyone?
Yes.
Okay, because we moved so quickly. All right, we're on to, are you ready, number 5?
I am.
All right, director's report, please.
Just go through the green flag and just show the whole slide. Yeah. That's a good idea. Green flag's better.
Yes, Russ liked the suspense of popping up all over me. Individually, I don't know, but I did stick with Russ's green and red flags again. So I'm sure he would appreciate that if he was here. All right, so we've had a pretty busy past few weeks, and we've got, I think, a lot of things done. Primary focus first few weeks when I got here was ARC issues and challenges, which we sort of hit head on, and we've actually implemented a lot of things to address some of those challenges. First being just a few basic, I call it sort of blocking and tackling items of, little tools that we can use to clean up documents, clean up internal communications, make it hopefully easier for committee members and board members to digest information, which I think was a big challenge. And then, not ignoring the fact that board has really, done a great job with updating committees and making some changes there. So things that we've touched on are improved, I think, and have been fairly well received by the committees. That's been something as simple as a submission cover letter. And so we added a cover letter to each package, and it's really just an internal tool. The cover letter summarizes the basic information of the submission package, what type it is, who the general data information that we would receive from the website through the submission. In addition to that, it captures a log of the history of where this submission is in the world of our process, right? And I think that was missing before. This form captures that so that if anyone in this room were to pick up a stack upstairs, we'd be able to quickly identify, all right, it went through preliminary or draft at a certain time frame. This is where it's at in the process. This is what has been missing, and this is why we're waiting on things from certain individuals. And that's why it maybe missed a meeting and was sitting on the pile for a certain period of time. So that little tool, I think, is helping. Allison and Dora have done a great job, along with Kim, of implementing that piece. And so it's been in the works for, I think, the last 2 meetings. So it's a good piece to use to add to the process. We mentioned pipeline tracker last meeting. It's taking us a few meetings to get some data into that pipeline tracker. Allison is using it, and I think it will be useful. I think we need another month or so with the data to really share it, but certainly that's helping us as well. We also initiated a prep meeting with some of the committee chairs, and I don't think we were doing this before, and that's really, that's kind of extending that little bit of customer service from the ARC to the chairs. So we invite them in the week of, maybe a few days ahead, and then we just go over the packages. And it's just a summary meeting. We give them a heads up on where our position is on the packages so that they're not surprised by anything. And then we can also, if we need to dive into anything that they think might be contentious or, needs more explanation, we can handle it right then and there at the chair level.
Is that
Yeah,
what
that is
it's
fabulous.
working?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not, these are kind of low hanging fruit that I mentioned in the first update that we should be doing. So
Is that
sorry.
one meeting or two meetings?
It's been one meeting so far, well, technically two, we've done.
Our chair is missing one of the.
Yes, yeah.
All I'm saying is you guys got to figure out how to do it right, but there was obviously some differences of approach between A and B in the past. And I think that meeting together where they talk about the issues they each probably be really helpful to get more consistency, because there was a pretty big gap. Different chairs looked at different things.
And your architects are talking as well.
Right, that's great.
Yeah, so I think it's working. It'll evolve, but I think we'll keep doing that for now. See how it helps the committee members, and get feedback from the chairs as well. The last few meetings that I've been through, we have what is it, the non-complete stack. So that one scares me a little bit sometimes, but we have things in that stack that have been missing information, and we have one in particular. I obviously won't reference that individual, but we worked harder with that individual that was missing some last minute information to help themselves get that information in so they could actually meet a meeting date. They didn't get that information to us, so it stayed in that stack. But at the same time, we have others that we have a list that myself or Dora will call to reach out and say, hey, you're missing one little piece, right, that we need. Now, if it's a piece that's an entire plan, that's a different conversation. But we're trying to do that as well to sort of help the process. And we have made several phone calls last few meetings. So we're going to continue to do that as well. So I think, from an ARC process standpoint, we have implemented, a variety of steps. I think our strongest step will be this ARC coordinator hire that will sort of take it from this level and move it up. And so we are, in the next section there in the notes, we have completed our final round of the interviews. So we've gone through a first round. We started with 10 applicants, whittled that down to 3 applicants. We were fortunate, I think, to have 3 qualified applicants in that last round. So, that was fortunate, especially since we only received about 10 responses. I'm feeling pretty good about that. I had a conversation with one of those individuals this morning. I think I'm still feeling good about that process. May get one of those individuals here to do a site tour. So I'm working on that at the moment as well. ARC admin, a little more challenging with that process. We had 15, we whittled that down to 5. We only had 2 out of 5 that actually showed up for an interview. One did say found another job. So that position is a bit more challenging, but the 2 that we have talked to or Dora's working with have some potential. So we'll see how that goes. See if we get any more responses on that. But I do want to kind of wrap these 2 up within the next 2 to 3 weeks and see if we can, get those folks on board. So I think we're close.
Could I actually go back to the ARC? I just have a question about that. Where do we stand with architects at this point? Architectural
So we have.
support? Do we have one?
Chuck and we have Gordon. We have Chuck and we have Gordon. Chuck's
Okay.
on.
Okay, so each ARC committee has a support from an architect.
They do.
Okay,
They do.
that's all I need to know.
I think they're great. So they're very helpful, in the meetings I've been in, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're tidying up process, we're filling positions. I'm feeling pretty good about ARC. I had my first builder interaction meeting yesterday, and it was a good meeting. It was an interesting meeting, hearing some of the prior history with ARC as far as the builder's concerned. I think we're going in a totally different, more positive direction, I think. So I think at some point, once we get the new ARC coordinator on staff, ingrained for a few weeks, I would want to reach out to some of these builders, and we'll have some sort of bigger meeting with them to go over, what are their thoughts. And typically, I like to get that feedback ahead of the meeting, is the way I like to do those meetings. So we'll send out a survey of some sort to builders. We'll get some feedback on, what are the challenges they've seen in the past. And then we'll be able to have some answers for that meeting, be able to digest it a little bit. And we can do that with some builders as well. So I think those are helpful meetings. I just want to make sure we get our coordinator in place before we do that. So moving off of ARC, Kim has been diligently working with the ARC stacks, and we're trying to migrate her out of that as best we can. And so we are starting to focus a little more on our communications over the past week. I think we've got some good ideas for the compass and how we can maybe modernize that look a little bit. And so we will share that internally with the board, but I do want to take a stab at that and see, are there some things that we can do there that are more member friendly and also a little more modern with just the presentation of that. And that will also tie back to the website with the updates that were done to the website as well. So that is in process, and that may be ongoing for a little bit, considering the software that we're using to send out updates has some limitations to it. So finance, we had a pretty good meeting with the finance committee recently, I believe. I shared a model that I've used in other communities, and I think that was well received. It's a great sort of planning tool. Happy to share that individually with the board as well. But that tool is just a basic model that shows, all of our assets for the community, lifespans, end of life, and it gives you the ability to sort of plan out and program how you're tackling projects on an annual basis and where your cash flow hits and marries up with that. And so, I think there's more to do there, but certainly good meeting, well received. Happy to share it with the board as well.
I think it was great. It was probably more information in that meeting about how we do things than I've had in a couple of years. And it seems like the committee and Doug are in the same page as to where we need to go to get to our financials, where there's clearly understandable as soon as we look at them in a month ago. Okay, that's what's happening. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. So I think most importantly, we have a consistent view of where we want to be. We're knocking out steps, making sure we understand how the operations run. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think it's fair. Yeah, I think it's all good stuff. And I think next slide, I've got some to-dos from that meeting. So we
Before you
I'm sorry,
go on to that, the issue of communication, I thought we were redesigning the island report.
baby steps.
Okay, I didn't
you
realize
know,
you were redesigning.
I,
I thought part of our moving to every 2 months was to redesign it and, okay, so we're doing both at some
we're
point.
gonna do both, and I think, I wanna start with that compass and,
Okay.
and see what we can get done with that. You know, we can add color and aesthetically make it a lot better, I think, no knocks on where it's been, but, you know, our software is somewhat limited, so, you know, then we gotta get into a software
Right.
discussion. That's always not the funnest conversation, but, constant contact has its limitations in formatting. That's what we're using.
Mhm.
I've used SurveyMonkey and some other things, that can do the distribution, so I think it's easier to start with that,
Okay,
and then we'll work our way through
all
it,
right,
so.
thank you.
So down at the bottom of our to-do list, our red flag list, we need to, out of that finance committee meeting, we know we need to update the reserve study. Until we had that discussion, I wasn't exactly sure to what level. And so I think that was a, you know, useful conversation to say, okay, we can get the consultant to come back out here and redo everything and take quantities, you know, and that's going to be a little more money. Or do we get them to come, you know, sit in the office and just update unit cost, which is, you know, a common scope of work that they do after they've recently done a study. And I think we've got we need something sort of in between, because we've added maybe the overlook assets. We've got a little bit of add there that we need to look at. So,
But most of the assets were around when we did the last study.
Yeah.
We're not in a growth mode where we've added 20 or 30%.
Yeah.
You know, and the assets we get reserves for. So the less intensive update is probably what we settled on, right?
yeah, less expensive this. Yeah, I don't think we need to spend a bunch of money. I think it's just update the unit cost and construction cost. And if we see something out of whack, typically what you would do on the construction cost side, we bring in a contractor just to give us some comparison numbers if we need to. So I'm reaching out to them
To give you an
now.
idea of why that we care, I mean, generally, obviously, why we care, it's a fairly big part of our budget, annual budget, in terms of when we decide how much to put into reserves, meaning as a board, that has significant budget impacts, right?
It is, and
Both today and in the long run, if you don't do it right, so.
yeah, and I think, you know, part of the discussion was policy issues as well. So I think out of that exercise, we may have identified a few things that we kind of drew up the board policy on the reserve piece. So, so working on that, I'm reaching out to the consultant to get that covered. Property insurance, I did get a renewal notice in the mail. I have reached out to them back, so I'm going to reach out to somebody different. That was on the list from last time. Happy to set up a Zoom or a team so that any of you want to sit in on that.
Mhm.
So I like to hear just an overview of what's getting covered. And I mean, the policy kind of shows you to a certain extent, but certainly give the board an opportunity to ask questions and for me to ask questions. So working to set that up. I believe the renewal is in June or July. So I think we've got a little bit of time, even though we're getting the notices now.
I've got all those policies and I'm reviewing them right now.
Are you,
Yeah,
okay?
so, so far I've been very pleased with the coverage we have, especially the liability side.
Okay.
So, but I want to talk to the agent about it because right now your coverage limits are being depleted by defense costs. So,
By what?
defense costs. So if we get sued, the insurance company hires a lawyer for us. And all the expenses that are incurred by the lawyer that they pay depletes your liability coverage of $1 million or $2 million. So we need to talk to them about that and why they did that and whether or not we want to keep that. Okay?
No, we
It's
only
interesting.
know.
I think you have $1 million or $2 million. I can't remember.
It's in great hands.
That's interesting.
We'll get it where it needs to be.
Wow.
And the good thing is it does cover committee members, committee chairs, which is excellent.
Does it cover members, anything that would happen in an event?
I'll let-
No, I mean, in this case, it's coverage of
This is D&O.
what we did,
Right.
as
Right.
acting as an
Mhm.
officer or a board member, not
Yeah, I'm thinking when someone rents this room for an activity, there's probably different
There is.
things that they've signed.
That's
There
different
is a
policy.
separate,
Yeah.
okay, all right, that's what I wondered.
Yep.
Okay.
I was just kind of looking at our interest on that.
We may want to, look at the waivers too.
I agree. Let me read them because most of them probably aren't worth the paper they're in.
Mhm.
Just telling you how it is.
Comment. Yeah, so, yeah, so we're trying to set that up. That's all good information. You know, what I call sort of the back of house, tasks that we're working on, you know, the contract maintenance, the member service improvements and the digital file database management. We really need that admin, on board to, you know, help us with that, especially given how stretched thin staff is with this ARC hole that we have and we're dealing with. So when we have such smaller staff, it is a lot to fill in a big hole like that. So, but we're working on it. So I'm hopeful that we'll get this new admin position filled within the next few weeks, and then we can focus on some of that back of house information as well. You know, one other thing that we're working on behind the scenes is, you know, again, sort of the blocking and tackling, you know, our finances and how we manage the financials. We will work with the finance committee to work on the presentation of our monthly reporting, make that a little simpler, I think. And then, you know, we're going to implement, as much as I'm sure Pam and Kim are going to hate me, we're going to probably use some coding stamps, and we're going to, you know, we're going to learn how we start to implement some internal controls on our invoicing and it's you know, these are just basic steps that we can do behind the scenes that staff has a little more control over individual budget line items, knows where that's at. Something as simple as a cost code stamp, you know, it works. We don't have one right now, so we're gonna look at things like that we can just, you know, improve some of the processes behind the scenes. So.
Can I ask another question?
Mhm.
This is related to staff. At the time, last year, when we approved this additional admin, that was in the new headcount, and we agreed to it. And then with Mary Ann's leaving and Dora moving in to cover, you know, to take on that position plus what she had, do we still have that headcount in the budget? Because we never did a backfill. And is that some residual cushion that we have should we need additional staff as you get going? We did not backfill.
Yeah, we have that one position still.
It's still,
Still to be
it's
filled.
still there,
It was
but is
approved.
the money in the budget for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my understanding is it is, for the
Okay.
admin position, from conversations with Russ.
Not the admin position. No, that's not what I'm talking about. We authorized a new headcount last year, which is that admin.
Mhm.
We put it in the budget. But when Dora took over Mary Ann's assistant director role,
Right.
we did not backfill Dora. And my question is, do we still have that headcount and do we still have that salary in the budget?
To a degree, from what I understand from the budget building process with Russ.
Well, I'm asking the real question. Do we have that headcount and its benefits in the budget?
Well, let me get back to you on that, make sure.
Because I think that was always our cushion.
Well, yeah, I think it's maybe how you're asking the question, Betty. The budget was rebuilt based on what we thought the needs were, right? With you and Russ. So I don't know whether that position's in the budget or not. I mean,
A position, let's say.
yeah, no, that's why they need to look into that. But the staffing budget was rebuilt in the fall. Is that fair, Dora?
It was rebuilt after I took on Mary Ann's position, so
Yeah.
it was rebuilt in the thought process. Yes.
As to what,
In the rebuilding, is there an open headcount that is funded in the budget?
With the headcount to a degree that's funded in the budget, as of right now, I'm holding those two positions with part of that within headcount stipend.
Okay, and the reason I'm asking this question is it's related to another decision we made previously. You know, we're going to take into the organization the community-wide standards activities. You know, and I just did some, after we left the meeting, I kind of did some just number running in my head. And I'm trying to understand, I know you're working on a plan for that coverage, but I'm saying to myself, the numbers in my head make it tough to think that everyone is going to get a look-see once a year with existing headcount and all the other duties that are going on. So I'm just bringing it up that, you know, we've been very reluctant to bring on new hires. And I think if we feel benefit, we shouldn't feel guilty about filling open positions.
Sure.
Okay,
No.
and I just want to make sure that position is there for whatever purpose it might be.
So, I think, we need a little bit more time, with this new admin position to
Mhm.
peel off, quite a few things that Dora has on her plate as well.
Okay,
So we need a little bit of time to get that admin in place. We'll peel some of the things off that I know set up for this meeting is a good example. That Dora doesn't need to be doing this. So once we get these positions filled, let me come back to you with that workload analysis to kind of say, okay, you know, where are we at? But I think we're going to be okay. I think the schedule of what Dora has committed to is manageable. I think we got some opportunity upstairs to share some of that responsibility with one or two others that are upstairs as well, while we're doing other things and we're out looking around. So we just need a little more time to kind of let that vet itself out, I think.
but will you be able to go back and answer that question about?
On the funding side, yeah.
The funding in there. Okay.
Can I add to that just real quick? Kind of off topic, but on it. One of the conversations I've had with Doug and Dora that is exciting to me is that there's this energy within the team members, all of them, to where a lot of them know each other's jobs, or they're learning, or they're touching on it. Should there be an issue or problem, we won't run into, being scared to death because they can't accomplish anything because that one person is the only one that knew that job. And I know that's a little off topic, but I think in the future, if someone leaves for a better opportunity or a different opportunity, Doug and Dora are not, scrambling to try to get a new hire out here. So I just wanted to touch on that.
Good point.
Yeah, we're definitely doing some cross training right now. So forced or unforced, but it's good. It's good for us.
Doug, it may be too early for this question, but do you have a sense of whether you have the software tools that you need to run this community, optimally and help the staff do their jobs optimally?
Yeah.
And is that something we should be thinking about for the budget?
I haven't had enough time. I know what I know, what I see on the surface, and it's getting the job done. It's just it's not optimal. So yes, I think we need some better tools. Example, I had an owner come in, late yesterday, and he kind of caught me in the office. He was wanting to pay his bill, and he's overseas. He's based overseas, and he was asking, do we have a way to email these invoices? And we're looking at different options within our system, and I couldn't answer a couple of those questions with what we have right now. So yeah, I think there's opportunity for different things there. The software that we have now and the database management side of it, we have to clean it up a little bit. When I pulled him up, we had some holding mills and things like that, and that's common. But that's something that we need to spend some time on. We get an admin person to kind of have some of that too. Diane does a great job with it, but it is a constant thing that you have to manage. So, you know, to answer your question, I think we definitely need a better ARC software for the reporting mechanism. And we've looked at one, we've had time to look at one. We need to keep sort of looking at that. The main database software doesn't talk real well with our financial institution, which I would like it to. So that's another thing that reason to kind of look at that database management software. And then on the media side, you know, if we progress with some things with that in different formats, we're going to need to look at that too. Right now, you know, the one we have, we're already seeing some limitations on what we can do with just the Compass distribution. So that's another thing that, yeah, I think we need to look at that in combination with the existing website, sort of massage that a little bit. But yeah, I'd say we have lots of room for improvement on the software side. We just need some time to get there.
Feels like we're moving into the 21st century.
Imagine that.
That's all I have. If there's no other questions. Good. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you, thank you. Do you have a bed yet?
Have a
Are
bed
you
yet?
still lying, are you still?
I
your
do have a
mattress on the-
bed. I do have a bed and I have 2 chairs. One bed.
Yeah.
Took me 6 weeks to get it, but yeah.
Okay, so number 5, moving on to the financial report.
Leanne?
Ms. Leanne.
Okay.
Remote?
Can you hear me?
Gotcha.
Okay. Let's go to the aging report, Dora, first, so I don't forget it. Yeah, as you'll notice, we've gotten about 90% of our basic assessment in, which I'm very pleased with, and we've gotten a lot of payments this month. The Keeper's Landing, Surfman's Walk, and Sumner's Crescent, those include the quarterly payers, and some of those are not due, so it's technically not an aging thing. But those will look wonky on this report all the time because the next payment for them is like May 15th, I believe. So those percentages will look crazy all year, but we're doing well with receiving our money. I've done some looking into changing some things in Enumerate, and it seems like the people are getting their emails better. And so that has helped get sending statements out and saved a lot of money, not having to mail them. And a lot of people have actually preferred that email. I'm thinking next month, I may give the board a list in the private section of the people that haven't paid yet and see what we want to do. See if we can contact some of those people. Okay, Dora, now we can go to the summary.
I don't know that we need names. We just,
No, we actually do, because what's happened in the past 2 years, Leanne has given us names, and twice both years, and I think both years was 4 different people too. There were people I knew who I knew would not be delinquent typically.
And me as well.
And one time, he and his wife were getting separated and she got the mail.
right?
No, so sometimes we can get a payment if we see the name.
Yep.
Well,
And
I
I was in a
thinking-
meeting once, I texted him and said, well,
I was just thinking maybe the finance committee, could do that.
oh, whatever, but the names are valuable for that reason, because
Yeah, I understand.
between the 6 of us, we're probably gonna find.
Finance committee, but I still would like to see it because there's a couple of people I may know that no one else knows.
Yeah, no, I think it has helped Leanne get some payments and helped our members who didn't realize they were delinquent.
But we want to remember the privacy issue too. You give it out to all these committees and things like that, and sure as the world, it'll be somebody's brother or sister or something, and it had become an issue. So we want to keep the privacy foremost. On the summary, we're doing well with the budget. Most of the issues that I did flagged on this section were things that belong in 2024. And I usually let the auditors or the CPA do that, but I'm thinking of maybe next month I'll move some that are clearly obvious. I'm going to go ahead and move them. And that may speed things up a little, may not, I don't know. We didn't have any reserves issues going on. We will next month. Our banking accounts are listed there and they're looking good. And I think unless I know one I coded wrong, so it showed up in the budget wrong and it's corrected for next month. So it looks like it's over budget, but it's not on the right account. I don't believe I have anything else unless you have some questions. I did go over all this with the finance committee and it went well.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously always a little noise, especially as we try to get the financials out, but generally we are doing well on the budget. You know, and as Leanne and Doug dig into this, some of these smaller issues won't show up and we'll have reports that don't need to be described in a meeting. We'll be able to see on the report. Is that fair, Doug?
It is.
We're making progress, good progress.
Excellent. So any questions for Leanne? Leanne, do you have anything else for us?
That's it.
Okay, thank you. And I got your email. I'll take care of that today.
Thank you. I'm so sorry they're driving us nuts.
Okay, I got it. All right, thank you, Leanne.
All righty.
All right, moving on to board president's report. Didn't really prepare anything, just wanted to cover a couple different things. Doug's already touched on ARC. I'm pleased to let you all know that we have 2 full committees. We have 2 new chairs. We have one relatively new, the other one accepted that position. Gordon Hall as our contributing architect for B. So that is all really good news. Doug's already talked about how the chairs are meeting and talking as needed. The architects are as well. The committees were brought up to date pretty good. A lot of new members, so they were brought up to date on, and of course, Derek is our new liaison for B. Pretty good understanding. I have already noticed a difference in both meetings over the last couple of months that are flowing well, moving along well. I can tell you that Allison and Maura seem to be working well with Dora. They're a nice little team. Really looking forward to the news that Doug hopefully will share with us soon about a new coordinator. I happen to have met the 3 candidates and I don't think we could go wrong with any of them. So that's amazing news for us. I was like, it was Christmas yesterday to me. I'm like, what's going on? So that's that. And then I wanted to share with you also. Now, Betty, you didn't put anything in the agenda, but do you want to jump in my little slot real quick and talk about the wonderful news of your committee, education and recreation? Just real quick, I think it's worth mentioning what your committee has done.
I was just trying to make sure that my committee members, this is E&R, you know, are kept up to date and energized. It's a hard committee because we are doing 1 or 2 things a month, which means the people on that committee are really devoting time to planning and being present. But I mean, we had a great week last week. We had a potluck dinner and Chip and Barry ran a bingo session that was hysterical. I mean, we had gifts and she had these huge party things that she put on the table. They're from her personal entertainment collection. And I mean, they were great. Craig Stanley helped. All we needed was some green visors for them and they're rolling. And people were like thrilled to win these little prizes. I think we spent $100, you know, or whatever. And it was just great to see. Unfortunately, we did not have as much attendance as we'd had previously, but I think part of it had to do with, we really shouldn't be scheduling stuff on Easter week. It's just,
That's tough.
it's just, or any holiday week, it just doesn't fly. But for those who were here, it was a hoot. And then, I mean, we had a fantastic Easter egg hunt. Kim Mulheron and her husband, Dan was the bunny. And I mean, we stuffed over 1,000 eggs. We had, I don't know how many hundreds of kids were there. Of course, it was over in 5 minutes. You know, they all got there early and they were all scoping it out. And I have tons and tons of pictures of these real cuties sitting on Dan's lap. And so many people came up and said, thank you for doing this. You know, we invited everybody who was on the island, guests
Right.
and whatever. And it's all part of this. We are a community. And I keep saying that to our group, but you know, I would encourage you to come to their events. We are having a picnic in the park for our next potluck, which is May 19th. And we've coordinated with Claude. He's going to offer some picnic suppers people can buy in advance and pick them up. And we're going to have games, and try and come to some of these events as a show of support. But we're really trying to work on community connections and people being introduced to each other. And it's slow. You know, but I would love to have you be as enthusiastic as this group is. And it's a small group. We have several members who are really not on the island. And so, you know, it's about 5 people and they are working their tails off. So it was great fun. So community is where it's at.
So thank you for that, Betty. And that's why I just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to speak about that. I know the Easter egg hunt was a huge success. I was away for the potluck, otherwise I would have been here. I like that you're changing things up a little bit because that gets people excited.
Right.
If it's
Right.
the same thing once a month, just coming, I mean, you want to pull people. You're trying to pull people. The park thing is going to be a hoot.
Right. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to alternate education and recreation. Like we're going to have a table trivia night at one of our potlucks, and it's all going to be about the island. You know, and if you've gone to any of the conservancy lectures or the lectures at the old ball, it's going to be lots of fun. And again, it's going to be prizes, and it gets people talking, you know, at the table, so they start to know one another.
And learning about their home.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, that's great. And thank you, and make sure you thank all of that for me. Okay, so I have sent some of you, it's to your BHA account, and unfortunately it wasn't popping up, some to your regular email. Something that I started working on a little less than 2 weeks ago. And I got so excited about it. I wanted to get this done quickly. It is a couple of weeks ago, I saw something that we all say. When the island gets a little bit busy, you see children on parents' laps in the driver's seat. I saw that, and I also saw that child fall. Not once, but twice. Well, the mother was on the phone. And there, you can't do much about anything. So I'm thinking, it kept me up that night. The next day, I thought about how we have the infrastructure over at Deep Point, how it's not used. And I called Chad. And Mr. Paul was very kind in listening to me, agreed with everything I said. I had a plan. And I just said, I need your help to put it in place. He was on board immediately. I called Doug and talked to him about it a little, came in and saw you, and called Paul and said, can we share the cost? It's not that much. And he laughs at me, do it, go for it. And so in your email, you'll see this has already been approved and it'll start before Memorial Day. And what it is it's going to be a rolling. Right now, just some audio will come up on the TVs, video, and then audio on the speakers. Eventually, the talk is to put like, you would see it at theme park TVs in the holding pen area over at Deep Point. And it'll also be on this side with the little TV. And it'll go through, basically, you know, instead of people think that they're being talked at, you're also learning a little something. So it's basically, I worked with Chief Josh to get some public safety information together, and it's speckled with some Old Baldy and Conservancy facts. And I think, we also threw a little, the overlooks, the trails, just some, useful, helpful facts and, a lot of safety. So that should be rolling out, and ordinarily I would talk to all of you, but it was important to me to jump on this really quick and try to get before the busy season. And,
How cool
and
is
so
this?
it's happening. And, I think that's helpful to our members. I mean, as a member, I don't think any of us like driving down the road and seeing a liability in action, right? And then also we had a house burn down last year. These people are just getting ready to build. This was because of a grill that was on a deck right next to the house. And these things, maybe it helps one person or two. And we don't see, some trauma or, the devastation of another fire. So that is that, and unless.
Thank you.
Yeah, of
Thank you,
course.
thank you,
Great.
thank you.
Yeah, you know what? We're privileged as being elected on this board to be able to have the opportunity to reach out and talk to people that can help us make difference.
Yeah.
And
And thank you
that's-
for Chad.
Yep, for sure. Unless there's any questions for me, that is all I've got today. Okay. Let's circle back around to member comments. Do we have anybody online? Okay. All right, so at this point, it is Friday, April 25th, 9:22 a.m. I call this public session adjourned. Do I have a second?
Second,
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
All right, adjourned.